Well, that's it. 40 votes was enough in the Senate of the Illinois legislature to remove from office. He's been impeached by the House of Representatives out there, and now he has been removed. It took 40 votes. It's a done deal. Welcome back to Hardball. We watched it live out in Springfield, Illinois. Of course, this afternoon, a very dramatic appeal by Governor Blagojevich to try to save his governorship. It's gone now. We have had reports today that his bags are packed. Pat Quinn, the lieutenant governor, is about to be sworn in. It's all going to happen quickly. It's obviously a political as well as a judicial action by that assembly out there. Every one of the state senators we've heard, all of them voting unanimously for the conviction. I've got Todd Harris here and Steve McMahon. This is an embarrassment, sideshow, comedy. What would you call it, Todd Harris?
I call it all of the above, and I think it's about time for both the state of Illinois and for our national politics that we be done with this. I think there's a certain amount of irony here if you remove all the partisanship from this, that at the very time that you had Barack Obama coming into office promising a new kind of politics change, that in his home state you had this governor who really embodied everything that people hate about politics, and I'm glad to see him go.
Well, what they hate, go with him. Steve, pay for play. Pay to play, this idea that you earmark money, you do favors for people in state legislatures or in governor's offices, and that's how you fund your campaigns. That's not going to go, is it?
Yes.
Well, that notion that you get money from the people you help.
It certainly isn't going to go completely, and I think one of the things that President Obama is trying to do is create a new tone and a new culture in Washington with respect to those things, so that people don't believe that their government is for sale to the highest bidder. Clearly, in Illinois, that's what people believe. It's what this legislative body believed about Governor Blagojevich. And frankly, that's tragic for the government and for everybody in Illinois. But Barack Obama is offering a new day here.
Well, the notion that you have to wet the beak, to use Godfather language, of the governor to get a state contract, to get help on gaming commission issues, to get help on hospital funding, to get help on naming U.S. senators to replace Barack Obama. The name of the game in Illinois, according to the governor, was you pay to play. Now, he's out the door, but on his last day, let's take a look at the proceedings here. I think there's going to be a formal statement here. He's been removed from office by unanimous vote of the state Senate. We're waiting for a formal statement. This was a unanimous vote by the both sides of the aisle, Steve. And Todd, Republicans and Democrats voting to remove this guy from office. We've gotten amazing reports that his bags are literally packed, that Pat Quinn, the lieutenant governor, also a Democrat, is just standing in the lobby, apparently, waiting to be sworn in. That's going to happen quickly. I thought it was an amazing statement, not that this whole thing hasn't been interesting to watch, Todd Harris, that Blagojevich said, I know you want this behind you. I know you want to move on. I know you want this embarrassment. He had their minds read pretty well.
But he was the only one who didn't want to put it behind him. The guy's been hanging on for, talk about having not just 15 minutes, but 15 hours of fame. I think that most people in Illinois, most people across the country would have preferred that he'd done the right thing and resign. And I think as you watch these proceedings, it's interesting to note that whether they're Republican state senators or Democratic state senators, the chamber seems to be taking this very seriously. This is not a joyous time in Springfield right now. I think they understand the weight of what they've done, regardless of how egregious his acts were. Removing a governor who was twice elected, even though they did the right thing, this is not a happy time.
Do you think he's mentally off balance?
Well, I think
the guy is so quick with his mind that you wonder whether it's a mental problem. Is something in a gadget missing that says that you are blowing your career here with this dishonesty, this corruption? You're just kissing it away?
Unfortunately, when you acquire as much power as the governor in the state of Illinois has, there are a lot of times that these politicians think they're invincible. And you could see over the last few days as he was out there making the rounds in the media that he thought he could just explain this all away. And now as he moves from being impeached to a criminal trial, where all those statements are going to be entered into evidence against him and are going to presumably be used to create the case against him, he's going to regret a lot of the things he said, I'm sure, and certainly a lot of the things he's done.
But what is it about him that's compelling? There's something here that's compelling. Is it charisma? There's something that separates him from the 99% of politicians who bore you to sleep in their company. And this guy, what is it? Just what do they call it, chutzpah?
He is. He's like the Energizer Bunny of scandal. He just like no matter how much people are pounding him, he just comes back for more and more. And he's so colorful, comparing himself to Gandhi.
But what about this talking about John Warner, the grandee senator from Virginia, and he said how all he could think about when he went in the conference committee on the Capitol Hill when he was a congressman was that this guy was Elizabeth Taylor's husband. So I went and got him coffee because he thought I was a staffer and I didn't want to disabuse him of that. I mean, he's already writing the life and legend of Rod Blagojevich here.
The life and legend of Rod Blagojevich, and it's sort of one of those things where what he says next is more incredible than what he said just before.
Right.
Whether it's Senator Warner or whether it's what he's going to do next. I didn't think anybody believed when he appointed Roland Burris that Roland Burris was going to get seated in the United States Senate. And Blagojevich outsmarted everybody because he made a pick that he understood couldn't be denied, and it took the people here in Washington a little while to figure that out themselves, but ultimately they figured out what Rod Blagojevich knew.
Guy, somewhere out there's a guy like Mickey Herskovitz or Bill Novak, one of those great ghostwriters is out there waiting for this deal, because the joy of being his ghostwriter is you sit there with a tape recorder going, and you get about a couple $100,000 to ghost this book, listening to this stuff as he describes his life.
Well, Blagojevich he's a son of a Serbian immigrant, and I've actually spent a lot of time in Serbia, and the one thing that they always tell you about Serbs, they will always out-curse you and tell a better story than you can.
Okay, well, I never thought about that. Let's go to Clarence Page, a man who covers for the Chicago Tribune. Sir, we've been covering the life and legend now. This will be called The Downfall.
Yes, it will. And I don't know what we're going to do without Rod Blagojevich to kick around anymore. But this has been a rather bizarre day. It was interesting. I think after he gave his speech, it seemed so obvious that he was on his way out, because he talked about a lot of things except the serious charges against him. All he said was, as far as that was concerned, was that he wasn't being allowed to bring forth witnesses, but he himself had refused to bring witnesses forth for 3 days. So it was a very strange departure, which was kind of, I guess, in accordance with the strangeness of this whole episode.
He is the strangest guy. I met him twice in my life. The first time he invited me as a reporter up to his office, and he said to me, "How do you write a book?" Because I'd written a few books. He said, "How do you write a book?" And the second time I interviewed him out in California, and I said to him, "Who are you going to name?" This is back in November. "Who are you going to name to the Senate seat?" He said, "Get yourself some residents, I'll name you."
Or get yourself some money,
Yeah, he's just flipping. It wasn't serious, obviously. It's just his casualness about being governor of a state. It's just, and facing felony charges and long time imprisonment, and he's so blithe about it.
Well, I think a lot of this goes back to the point.
That's why I'm asking about mental stability.
Well, that was the point.
There is a question here.
I think he's existing in a somewhat alternate reality.
Yeah.
Because there's just no way that you can go through all of this if you're really seeing the facts that are in front of you that everyone else sees. Yeah. And still have that same demeanor.
Well, he just got impeached and convicted by the state Senate of Illinois unanimously. Nixon got a few votes.
But on the other hand, look at what he just did a month or so ago. Here's a guy who was arrested and hauled out and arraigned on charges that he was trying to sell a Senate seat to the highest bidder.
Yeah.
Everybody in Illinois ran away from him, and what he did was he appointed a senator to the United States Senate. He got away with it, so why wouldn't he think he could get away with it?
Completing the pass into the end zone on a losing game.